Hello, open sourcers, the tech wizards, the magicians who love open source, freedom, and privacy. I think that's a cool name that I should call you guys with. Okay, this is Saturday here. This is Saturday afternoon. I'm in the kitchen. I'm making some Indian food. I'm making chole and some puri, which is a kind of bread. I remember Klaus Nopper, the creator of Knoppix, is a very good friend of mine, and he always says that I should start either a website or a YouTube channel where I share, open source recipes of Indian food. I don't know. Maybe I'll start it now. I have a better camera, so I can be in my kitchen. I have a lapel microphone, so I can actually do that. But that is not why I want to talk to you today in the kitchen. And there is a reason why I'm in the kitchen. This morning when I woke up, I have been thinking about the future of this channel. I started this channel a few years ago. When I moved out of India, I moved to Germany. What was I doing in India? After finishing my journalism and mass communication course, I became a journalist, print journalist. I was assistant editor with the Linux for You magazine group in India. It's actually Electronics for You magazine group, but Linux for You was one of their magazines. And I have been covering Linux and open source since the very first day of my journalism career. I chose open source. There's a lot of different reasons, which I have shared in one video, but I can talk about it sometime later. Anyway, so then I got married and I moved out of India. I settled down in Germany, but there was no English-speaking publication in Germany. So I tried to start my own site. It was called Muktware, and that's when I started this channel. But I was not posting a lot of stuff on this channel. I actually kind of revived this channel only 2 months ago. That too because I'm actually not sure what is the future of print journalism or online publication either way. And what's really surprising is that ever since I started posting a lot of stuff on this channel again, I gained over 2,000 subscribers, which is kind of encouraging. I'm about to touch 8,000, which is like very, very low compared to some big channels, but I never posted anything there. So I kind of invested a lot of money. I bought this GH5 camera. I got some expensive microphones, and the whole setup is there. So I'll be posting a lot of videos. But the big challenge for me is that what should I post there? So I want to give it a structure, and that is why I'm talking to you today, and that's where I would need your help. From the very early on, I have been a tech lover. I never took pocket money from my parents. When I was 13 or 14, I started writing fan fiction. And then I got heavily into electronics and mechanics. So I would write articles about electronics. Excuse me. I will build circuit diagrams and I'll write articles about it, how to use it. And then I'll also write science fiction stories. So that was my earning from the very early on. I would make small science electronic gadgets and sell it. So that's what I have been doing. So I loved technology in general. I came from a very small town, so I did not have much access to a lot of things, but I did whatever I could there. So now, when I look at myself, I have specialized in open source. I specialize in open source business model. I specialize in open source development model. I have very strong, very close relationship with the open source community as well as the open source industry. If you have read my stories, I have met personally and interviewed almost every top shot of the Linux and open source world, whether it's Linus Torvalds, Richard Stallman, Red Hat CEO, SUSE CEO, Docker founder, you name it, and I have kind of met them and interviewed them, and I'm known there. So that is my specialization, but that is not the only thing that I'm interested in. I'm interested in things which are going to shape our future, the things that are going to change our world. And these things are artificial intelligence, machine learning, virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. I'm also interested in games. I do a lot of 3D printing. You must have seen on the backdrop in my office. And at the same time, as a science fiction writer, I'm also concerned about privacy. I'm concerned about security. I'm concerned about our freedom. How much freedom do we actually have in this world that we're living in, which is dominated by all these technologies? Now, in my professional capacity, when I write articles for those stories, my focus is always on open source. But as I said, that's not the only area of interest for me. So I don't want to wrap myself into that container of open source on this channel. This channel I renamed from Muktware to Swapnil Bhatia, so I can talk about things that interest me. And the common theme is, of course, technology. Now, the big challenge for me is that most of you came to this channel because of my open source coverage and all the work that I had been doing in open source. Ever since I started covering enterprise Linux and I moved to US, I have exposed myself to kind of beyond Linux and open source. I was a pure Linux desktop user, but now I use Mac OS, I use iPhone, I use iPad, I also have a Windows PC. So my main system, which is assembled PC that runs on all Linux, Dell All-in-One runs on OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, and Dell XPS the laptop runs on OpenSUSE Lib. But I also have a MacBook. I have 2 Chromebooks, 1 Pixel C laptop, and 1 iPad Pro. I have 2 Nexus phones, 1 Pixel phone, Galaxy Note 8, and iPhone 8. I have Sony PlayStation VR, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, NVIDIA Shield. So the point is that I try to expose myself as much as I can to all these platforms and technologies and products for 2 reasons. Number one is that when I share my opinion about something, it's based on knowledge and information, and not a lack of it. As you might have seen, a lot of even my friends, I don't want to name them, they have not even used that particular platform, but they are full of opinion about it, and I think that's kind of not good. You should know your game when you're playing it. That is one. Second is that as I said, I want to see where the technology in general is heading, and from Linux desktop perspective, I want to be aware that where Mac is going, where iOS is going, where Windows is going, so that I can see, okay, these are the potential areas where Linux desktop people should be working on. If you live in your own bubble, you actually don't know what's happening outside of the world. I mean, when I lived in Europe, the whole reason Europe is so advanced is that they have so much kind of exposure to different cultures, from Asia to India to Africa. I mean, they learn from each other. They share those ideas, versus, when you're stuck in a big continent, but you don't travel too much, you don't even know what's going on in the rest of the world. So I don't want to be that person. So I want to, expose myself. And since I've exposed myself, I want to be able to talk about it. I want to share, what I've learned or what exciting things are going on there, That is one thing about that I want to focus on this channel. The second is that, as I said, I know that most of you are open source people, but I don't want to build a community, or I don't want an audience base who hates Apple or Microsoft or Google. I mean, I have some friends, I don't want to name them. They are quite popular, getting popular on YouTube, but their whole philosophy is based on divide and conquer. It's based on creating conflict or benefiting from the conflict, or kind of polarizing people towards Google is evil, Apple is evil, Microsoft is evil, W3C is evil. Now the thing is that it's very easy to polarize people, and then you can build a fan base. That's exactly what Donald Trump has done. That's what kind of politicians do. They divide people, and then when they identify their base, they just support that base. That is what I don't want to do. I don't want to divide people among, we are Linux users and you're Mac users, so you're dumb and stupid. No, that's not what my goal is. That's not what I want to do on this channel. I want to unite everybody. And the common thread has to be technology, that all of us love technology. We use Mac OS or Linux or Windows because we want to get something done. And based, whether you want to follow me or not, it heavily depends on what is your goal. How do you look at technology? Do you look at it as a tool, as a means, or as the ultimate goal? So do you want to use a film editing software to prove that you can use open source to create a film? That is one way of looking at it. or you're someone like Christopher Nolan who wants to create a kind of magnificent piece of art called Interstellar or Dunkirk, and he doesn't care what tools he will be using. All he wants to do is to use the best tool that get the work done. He uses film instead of digital. Why? Because that's what creates the kind of piece he wants to create. So it's so same is the case with me. I mean, I'm not I don't like do blanket ban of blanket adoption that I say, oh, I only use Linux, irrespective of what I'm going to use it for. Like if you see, all the knives or there are pans or there, I don't use the same pan to cook every kind of dish. Different pans, different utensils to make different kind of food. So similarly, I don't use just Linux for everything. It depends on what is the job. What I do is that whenever I'm going to use a tool, I do try to find an open source alternative of the tool and then try to use them. And I don't use them just for a few hours. I try to use them for a whole week and then see the difference. If the compromise that I have to make with one tool is at the borderline, that is really not affecting the work, just tiny bit of it, then I always go with the open source tool. But if the difference is so huge that it's either going to take longer to get the work done, the user experience is not very intuitive, the ultimate product will not be as polished as I would want, then I use the tool that works irrespective of whether it's proprietary or not. I wish that the open source tool was better, but I use the tool that get the job done. And that's the kind of followers, that's the kind of users I want. That's the kind of community I want to build. The pragmatic people who love technology in general. They do care about open source, but they're not religious about it. They're very practical about it, and they are willing to help each other to spread the word. But one common thread that binds us all together is our love for technology. So where I need your help, and the reason I am creating this video is that how do I structure this content? How do I structure this YouTube channel where I should be able to talk about all these things without creating any conflict, without upsetting a lot of fans? At the same time, I don't want to polarize people, or I want to upset everybody that you are a Linux user, but I'm talking about Mac. So I have to find some common ground. How do we go forward? So that's where I need your help. Please, whatever your thoughts are, share in the comments below. Just be nice and gentle. I don't believe in censorship, but I will delete any offensive or harassing comments. And the reason I need your help is that I've been a Linux user for a very long time, so I am as passionate as you are. So if you say something nasty, I will get nasty too, and I think that is kind of counterproductive. So every time I talk about Microsoft or Apple, people get really upset and they come back with very nasty comments, and I want to kind of ignore that without not talking about it. So I need your help to give me kind of your advice. That's what open source is all about, right? Everything is transparent, and I have been very transparent what I use. I don't lie to you that I only show you Linux desktop, whereas I use Mac or whatever, and I don't mind using whatever technologies as the reason I gave you. So please go ahead and tell me what kind of structure I give to this channel, how I should be able to talk about these technologies. Should I dedicate different days, like okay, Monday is for Linux and open source, Tuesdays how you can use open source technologies on Mac OS, and then we can talk about how businesses are using open source, and then we can talk about a lot of things where the open source remains at the core, but we also touch upon other technologies. The whole challenge is to how to kind of put it all together in a very coherent way so that it doesn't look like things are falling out of the place. So please give me the advice, and I'll really appreciate all of your advices and suggestions below. And once again, thanks for watching, and if you like this channel, as usual, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe. So I'll look at all your comments, and I'll come back tomorrow or maybe this evening with what I think. And of course, I have a lot of interviews lined up that I'll be publishing either way. So thanks for watching. See you in the comments below.